here on number 7. I put the wrong total from the report.
The what?
Let me, there's the total. Okay, let me write that on all of them.
Here, why don't you write that?
Sorry, I should have.
I won't be able to write it.
That seemed a little low to me.
Yeah. It's a little.
That was just a lift station.
Oh, I thought that was a pretty good deal.
It was a pretty good deal. The difference is the part that goes to Brewery's project. That's the lift station part.
Boy, prices go up fast.
Yeah. I told you they-
They said there was inflation, but
Just for 2 hours?
There we go.
You ready, Angie?
Yeah, I think so. On air version thing.
No, it just turned on. No, you
Oh, I already did.
Yeah.
Are we ready? Let's open this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, number 2, open public forum. Anybody that is not on the agenda wishing to speak? Otherwise, we'll move on to number 3, approval of the agenda. I need a motion.
I'll move.
Mike makes a motion. How about a second?
I'll second it.
Doug seconds it. Any discussion on the agenda? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Number 4, consent agenda. Recommendation to approve the consent agenda as presented. I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Doug makes a motion. How about a second?
I'll second it.
Mike seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Number 5, extension of Granite Community Bank's revolving loan. Jim Ike. Hey, Jim.
Push the button on one of those, or it lights up. Just pull it down.
Hi, Shannon.
Hi. You guys been fast. 1 minute.
Good evening.
Hi, Jim.
So, excuse me, as you probably all aware, we have for the bank, Granite Bank, we have a revolving loan fund, which is maturing, or has matured. I think it matures at the 30th.
There you go.
And we were looking for an extension of that, mostly due to the person who has purchased the property needs to pull a building permit for the part of the forgiveness to happen. And what they do not want to pull a permit yet because of the deed funds that may become available as part of the Main Street revitalization project. Central Minnesota Community or Initiative Foundation may get up to $8 million in funds from the state to actually grant businesses in this area through the Main Street Revitalization Fund, just so they improve their properties. So our customer that had purchased the old bank building won't pull his building permit until he finds out if he gets some of those funds. So if he does receive the funds, he's going to greatly improve the looks of the property and everything, because it's money he can use to improve with. So we're asking for the extension to, I believe it's September 30th, 31st,
September
30.
1st.
30.
September.
September 1st.
First, okay.
Yeah.
So we can wait for the funding. The Initiative Foundation won't realize the funds until about, I think, end of April. And then they will have to find their grants, the recipients of the grants, and then they get named. And then they feel with all the permits and the design of the building and everything, it takes probably till August to figure out how to pull the permit. So that's the long story of the request.
What if he doesn't get the grant?
He will build a lesser building, he says.
All right, I'll read a recommendation. Recommendation to approve the extension of the revolving loan for Granite Community Bank to September 1st, 2022. Need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Fran makes a motion, how about a second?
I'll make the second.
Doug seconds it. Any discussion on it? Doug, go ahead.
Well, the question I have is, Jim is talking September 30th, but the recommendation is
Says
September
September
1st.
You know, in the agreement I sent him said the 30th, so I
30th. So-
typoed it wrong, so then,
So this should
Should we
be
go
the
the 30th?
30th.
Should be the 30th and
Yep,
1st.
30th.
I'm getting old, so I can't remember all the details sometimes.
So the motion is for the 30th then, right?
Yep.
And my second will be for the 30th.
All right. Any other discussion on it? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Number 6, Public Works Director report, John Stevie along with Ryan Lynchen.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Hi, John. Hi, John.
I've got no requests for your approval tonight. I did want to talk about a couple things with you guys and the public as well. Over the last couple of years, we've had a significant amount of service line repairs, service line breaks. Just want to remind the public that it's the homeowner's expense to the curb line or right of way. Usually the curb stop is in the right of way or right at that line. So that's kind of the general rule we use, but it is their expense. They are in charge of coordinating with the excavator. And then from the right of way to the main, the city will chip in 50-50. So just a reminder for that. Another thing, this time of year, we get a lot of freeze ups. People think when it gets warm that they're out of the way of it, but it actually pushes the frost down a little further. With all the snow we've had, we weren't expecting many, and hopefully we don't get many, but there has been a couple already. Mainly in situations where their service line was through a driveway the whole way back to their house, or freezes somewhere in the street between the main and their house. It is the homeowner's responsibility to take care of that. Feel free to call if you have questions on how to coordinate it. I can help and guide you to a plumber, but it is not the city's responsibility for your service line being froze up. We did have one last week that a resident was very disgruntled about it, I guess you could say, but it is the homeowner's responsibility to take care of their service line. So check your water every single day. In a week's time, it can change drastically if there is frost close to your service line. So check it every day. Make sure you run your water long enough to check it. Don't just run it for a little bit. Check it. Oh, it's still at 45 degrees. Let it run for quite a while to make sure you're getting fresh water coming into the house. That's the actual temperature of the water. And if you do get below that 36, 35 degrees, feel free to run it a pencil stream. Notify the city you're doing that. Call Lois up at City Hall or whoever answers the phone at City Hall. Try to avoid the problem. It is a pain in the butt. Wait until spring or hooking up to your neighbors, but there is options to get you water. Our temperature of the water still in our towers is about 40, so I'm not real concerned about it. But like I said, in unique situations where your service line is not covered up with snow, it could be an issue. So keep in mind to don't forget to check your water temperature and check it every single day. Whether you want to use a thermometer you stick underneath your kid's tongue when they're sick, or any form of, however you want to read it, it doesn't matter, but you'll save yourself a big pain in the butt if you can stay ahead of the game.
People don't understand that. Maybe we can repeat it again so they do understand it. Some cities pay up to the curb stop, but you're saying if it's between the curb stop and the main, the city still only pays 50%.
Correct.
And so people are of the assumption that it's only responsible for the curb stop to their house, but it is 50% cost to the, plus then they've got to pay for pavement replacement and all that, so
Yep.
it's a major expense for.
Oh, it's a very major expense. We had one, kind of a unique one, but I think I've seen them up to $15,000. You start talking bituminous and curb and gutter and all that, it just gets expensive real quick.
Mine was 11.
Yeah, it gets, every city's different. That's probably one of the things that new homeowners or people buying a house in town, they have no clue to even think about things like that, but,
Right.
you know, contact city staff and ask the policies. Even if you're looking at buying a house, it's a good thing to contact the city and find out some of those policies, because those are major expenses that you don't plan for.
Correct.
And nobody's ever happy when we show up and it's between the curb stop and the house and they're on the hook for 100% of it, but that's the policy.
Well, that part between the curb stop and the main, that's pretty uncommon, actually, I think. I don't know, maybe.
What we notice the most common is the curb stop itself. Whether the curb stop breaks or the connection to the curb stop breaks, which that's usually a 50-50. But there's definitely plenty of situations where it happens between the curb stop and the house, and it's strictly homeowner.
Right.
But we had one this fall there must have been 8 different leaks in the pipe, stretching all the way across the street up in Rookery Drive. Not sure what happened there, but they call it hot soils. They call it, some of the older homes that have copper lines, they hook the ground up to the water meter or the water pipe in the house, which can create electrodes that run through there and heat the pipe up along the way and, you know, make the walls thin in spots, and that's probably what happened up there. But just a reminder to the homeowners that stay on top of it and don't get mad at us when we show up and it is your cost. And, you know, and a lot of homeowners, I find out, they, you know, whether they have no idea who to call, we're more than happy to help with that. But by all means, if you do have somebody in mind that is an excavator, that's up to them to contact them, so whoever you want to use.
John, do you ever see it freezing from the curb stop back to the city?
Yep.
And not the homeowner, from curb stop to the house? Do you ever see it freezing that way?
Yeah, it'll freeze. That's one of the more common spots it freezes. But I don't necessarily think we have policy on that exact situation. So technically, the service line is the homeowners. And we supply the water in the main. From there, they have to get it to their house. So if it is froze up anywhere in the service, it is their responsibility.
But then that is 50-50?
No, for a freeze up, it's their responsibility. If a pipe
Even if it's in the city pipe?
Yeah.
You know, it's underneath the street.
That's how we've always operated. I don't actually think there's language for freeze ups on that.
Right, because it frees up, nothing's broken.
Yeah.
It's just frozen and needs to be heated up through the snaking, or however they use
Because
it.
technically, the homeowner still owns the service line all the way to the main. For whatever reason, our policy is the 50-50 split on repair work to the right of way or curb stop. But they still own that main, or that service line.
And the assessment policy is the same when we go through and replace, we do a 50-50 on the service line. For that reason, just promoting the fact that that piece that's in the street, we want replaced.
You know-
People go for an extended period of time, under a week or two, they should probably leave their water run a little.
Yep, leave their water run, or I just had a gentleman contact me. They were leaving for 2 to 3 weeks to Arizona or something, and nobody was able to come check us out. So that's the best thing you can do, is leave your water run and have somebody locally check your house. But if you don't have that option, either take the chance of letting your water run or shut the water off, and, you know, it's up to you. But shutting it off at the curb stop doesn't necessarily help either, because, yeah, it'll help save from water bursting in your house, but with no water moving at all, it's gonna be more likely to freeze if it is a problem spot. And there is, you know, we have a list, and homeowners know if they froze up in the past, they're more apt to freeze up again in the future. But sometimes it's just unique situations. But that, you know, and with that, you know, back to the pipes breaking, when we do have street projects like this, and you have the opportunity to put a new line to your house from the curb stop where the city stops, it's definitely worth it if you have old material down there. I mean, I get it, nobody wants to spend the extra money, but it costs you a lot more in the end if something happens than if you're just proactive and replace it when you have the opportunity.
Yeah, we had the opportunity, we didn't do it.
Yeah. And you know, years ago, a couple grand fixed your problem. Nowadays, it's 10, 15, and it's a big difference. So just wanted to make the public aware of some of our policy and how this works, and over the next month, you know, there's gonna be calls, and just stay on top of it and check your water temperature regularly.
Yeah. All right, anything else? Anything for John? Otherwise, we'll move on to number 7, city engineer report. Brian Lynchen.
Mr. Mayor and Council, good evening. Just start with, we'll just start with some project updates. The water plant, working on the interior piping yet. The roof is up. Doesn't have roofing material on it yet, but we're getting closer. That's in the next week or two. So it's starting to look more like what the building will look like in the end. Otherwise, yeah, they're just working on interior stuff until the spring, and then we'll do a lot of site work and a lot of site piping. The wastewater pretreatment, we're working on wrapping up the 100% plans. The MPCA, we need a permit revision, so we've been working with them on that. There's a public comment period that's required for 60 days, so that's out right now. That ends on April 29th. I put in my memo kind of some of the tentative schedule right now for the bidding. We'd look at next month, or the next meeting, approving the project for bid. We would advertise the following week, early April. We would hold a pre-bid meeting. Basically, those that are plan holders and contractors, we invite them to a meeting. We talk through the project. We can answer questions. We tend to do that on bigger projects. Right now, looking at a tentative April 28th bid date, and then awarding it May 10th. One of the stipulations is that we have to have the permit in hand from the PCA before we can award the project. So we're trying to time the bid date close to that as well, because we don't want to bid it and then let it sit for 30 days or closer to, we have up until 60 days, but we don't want to push that limit. So we're looking at, and that's why some of this is a little bit tentative. And if we get through if there's something with the MPCA that might delay them a week or two, we might issue an addendum and push the bid date back just to not have that hang out there too long. But it's kind of the tentative schedule right now. Any questions on that one? The standpipe water tower, we had the pre-con last week. Contractor should be moving equipment on site here, probably trying to get ahead of road restrictions. And then lastly, we're starting moving on the design for the 2022 brewery sanitary improvements. I think Bridget got to you today the soil boring quote, and then we updated the cost there. So that's for soil borings along the route. There's a few more than we would normally do just because we're looking at doing some directional drilling. So we want to get a little bit deeper, a few more spots so they have more confidence in what they're doing. Also has some reports and some drilling for the bridge. So.
Want the recommendation then?
Yes, please.
Recommendation to approve and award the soil borings to Braun Intertech at a cost of $17,975 for the 2022 sanitary sewer and water improvements. Need a motion. Brand makes a motion. How about a second?
I'll second that.
Shannon seconds it. Any discussion on this? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. There you go.
Thank you. Otherwise, that's all I had.
I want to back up a question on the Blue Heron Heights. I know this is something that's been talked about in previous council meetings, but are you working on anything to develop some kind of an escape plan for that Rookery Drive and Blue Heron Heights, the secondary route? Have you looked at that at all?
We haven't looked at it yet. We've talked about, there's some options. I guess the roadway to the south is a private road. So that's why those roads all stop there. We can't use that. The only other option is really to go on the west side of the trailer court. I think we have some right of way in there. It's an option, but it's something that's going to take some more discussion because it's also not a quick just put a road in. It's going to be a significant project dollar-wise. So we haven't looked at it in detail. I believe it's feasible. It should be no problem, I would think. If we have the land, we can make a road. It's just a matter of funding and being able to put the money toward it.
I'm just looking at it from a common person, but it seems like if we talked about buying a part of that other road that's private now,
I don't know that there's been any official conversations on anything there.
has there been any conversations on that?
There has not been, but I can put out feelers.
Well, I
Because,
think-
yeah, the way that Brian's discussing, it's still just one entrance, but at least it's a loop instead of an out and
Right,
back.
but it'd be less expensive probably to buy a portion of that
Maybe,
private road than
yeah.
it would be to build a new one. I just see it as a safety factor, and citizens have commented, probably you too, Fran.
Well, I don't like it because now the south people are going to work now, they're gonna go through my street to cut, instead of going all the way down to the 23 to go to work. And that's what the people up where I live, that's what they're telling me, is try to stay away from that. I mean, it's a nice to get that way, but most of the people that live in my subdivision.
Don't want that, no.
Don't want that, or none of them work out that way. And they don't want this influx of cars, that's what it's going to increase the problem. But right by me is the street that I've been trying to promote, and the Hesse family will sell that part in the street, but again, like Brian says.
We have a 66-foot road right of way already. We have,
Already.
we do,
So
we just have to
it's
put
the
it in.
idea of cost
It's the
and
cost.
moving the water. and stuff.
Yeah, that would be one of the big things, is there is a water main
But
stuff.
way down at the end, everybody still, no matter how fast you drive, you still meet at Menards, everybody does. You ever notice that?
So Bridget, that right away, did that connect to First Street Southeast there then?
Yeah, is that the one where
That's certain.
Lindell lives? And- Yeah, yeah.
So that would connect on there and then straight south.
Well, yeah, and then it's, everyone still uses the chapel light to get out of
Yeah.
that, but it would give an extra,
It would
loop
help,
out
but
from-
it still doesn't solve the problem, you know. But most of it is, yes, the people that own that Hummingbird Road, they don't want.
Fireside?
That's Fireside.
Fireside Road.
Yeah, they don't want that, and the people up there don't want it because they're going to start using the commute faster. They're going to use Rookery Drive and what's Church Street Southeast then? Yeah. So it's a double-edged sword there, so.
Yeah.
And the only thing is that when past the trailer court, I mean, that would ease it up a little bit, yeah.
But if we did both of them, it wouldn't be that bad either, because most of them would probably use the one right by you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
coming from County Road 2, they would go down that way.
Yeah,
And I would bet if you timed it, it's still gonna be faster to go into town into 23 than to
Oh,
sneak
yeah.
through a neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
But-
I would think so.
Yes,
It just seems like a safety factor to me. I mean, you know, for fire engines and police and, you know, if everybody had to evacuate up there, then it'd be a real problem.
and
well, yeah, if everyone
John.
has to evacuate, I mean,
that
That's-
stop sign's in the wrong place.
I would
We
imagine
stop
they'd get
all
over to
the
the
people,
softball park yet.
And 6
Yeah,
houses
you
don't
could
have
just
to
drive
stop.
right out of there.
23 houses have to stop. Can that be changed?
That's a PD thing, I think.
I didn't hear what stop
What was
sign.
that?
Oh, up at Rookery, there's 23 houses or more that gotta stop for this stop sign. And the people, there's only 6 houses that don't have to stop for it. You know, you would think that the stop sign would be an,
Other side,
I think the discussion there was because there's more traffic coming that way with kids and everything
Slow
else,
it down.
is stop more cars to slow traffic for pedestrian traffic and that kind of thing.
oh, okay,
It was a discussion at the time, but
yeah. That's
I'm
a,
not an engineer either, so.
when I'm up there, when people walk past, you know, they talk about that.
It went from over there over to you and now.
And back to Lynch.
So you're thinking there should be a stop sign coming from the houses going to the
Well,
south too?
Not two, he just
It's-
swap.
You probably don't even.
Jason's got the right idea too, is like to stop more cars, the less thing, but the people up there go like, how come 6 houses don't have to stop and 23 houses have to?
And in reality, if you were gonna move it, you're better off just taking it away, cause those 6 houses there's really no need to put a stop sign there. And there's places, I don't know if I always agree with it, but there's places where the theory in town, in urban neighborhoods, is you don't put any stop signs.
Because most of them don't stop for that.
Well, and it forces people to be more
Cautious.
observant and cautious. I don't know if that really translates, but there is a theory about that. I don't know if I believe it. But in that situation, you could almost just get rid of the stop sign entirely.
Yeah.
But it does allow people to drive faster.
For
But
Brian now, it's a little late because everybody's getting used to that freaking stop sign.
Well, that's okay.
I think if anything, you replace it with a yield sign, but
Well, when it's just, you
Yeah.
guys brought this up with the road, so, right?
All right.
I live up there and this is, you know.
Got anything else, Brian?
That's it.
That's it. Anybody got anything for Brian?
I do have one more thing I forgot to talk
Okay.
about. Shirley Welter called me today,
Yes.
and as you've seen, she was passing around flyers to businesses for flower pots.
What's she
and
up to?
She succeeded, and we are bringing the pots to Thompson's on Friday.
Okay.
I know last time I checked with her, she was like up to almost $3,000, so I've been checking in with her.
Do they have volunteers to water?
She said they do. She said we might need a little help from the city, but hopefully not much at all. So we'll see how that works out this summer, but.
So when
It's
we do the
very
water-
exciting.
When we do the watering, they're watered Friday morning and then nothing till Monday morning?
It all depends. Sometimes they're watered, they've came in on weekends to water.
Could they get in there at weekends?
Yeah, because we have a wastewater person there every single Saturday and Sunday from usually 7 to 11. But it doesn't always get watered on weekends. It just depends on what the weather's like.
You know, because last year it seemed like the flowers just didn't seem that vibrant last year. Well, part of it is when you got hot days, you water them Friday morning, then you don't water them till Monday morning, so you got all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, these pots drying up, well,
Yeah, and then Monday's a holiday and then it might not get watered till Tuesday.
and
Yeah.
then, so that's my only thing is, you know, is that gonna be watchable so we have decent looking flowers?
Right, also if they're getting fertilized or something.
So last year there was a, big lack from as far as people who wanted to donate their time to water. So the part-time kids were watering when they were here. Well, they don't work weekends, they don't work, holidays when we're not here. So like Shirley would water them on Mondays, part-time Wednesday, part-time Friday, and then they won't get watered till Mondays again. We did switch the Toro from inside the fence to in the park building. So the watering committee has that code to get in there and get the Toro. So they have access to it if they need it on the weekends. And if they have volunteers for the weekends, by all means, water away.
So where do they refill? They gotta go all the way to Public Works to refill?
They do now, we fill up at Public Works, but
Can't we get a fill station like on one of the hydrants by the splash pad area or something, so they don't have to run all the ways out there to refill with water being all their pots or?
we can do that. I've told them if they want, they can fill up at their house. I mean, for the couple 100 gallons that it takes to fill that up, if it's convenient for them to park it at their house and fill up, that's not a big deal.
You know, cause we used to have that standpipe where some of the contractors would fill out of. I mean, isn't that something we could do for these?
Yeah, you wouldn't want that because it's only a 100-gallon tank. We usually just use a garden hose to fill it. It's only a 100-gallon tank. So we can hook a garden hose up by the country store on the hydrant. Problem is, then you gotta worry about people walking by at night and turning it on or whatever, but
Well, you gotta make it so that they can't do it, that only the people with, you can take the handle off or you can lock it somehow and then the people on that cart or wherever have it
there's a key on there or something.
Right.
A key on Toro.
Cause yeah, if you just put a garden hose there, well, that, you know what's gonna happen.
Right. But I mean, that Toro goes pretty quick. It's not like they're taking a lot of time to run down there and fill up.
Right, but I think it would be way more convenient than they're not driving on that busy road.
Right.
Everybody going out to 23 to refill it, you're right downtown filling up.
Yeah.
Watering the
You'd
pots
think
anyway.
there'd be a spigot at the splash pad or
Yeah, there probably is on the bathroom,
an outside spigot.
I would
Why
imagine.
couldn't they fill there?
Isn't there a utility tub in the splash pad, so in the utility room at the bathrooms? Isn't there a faucet in there? They could,
Not in the utility room, I don't believe so.
oh, okay. Thought there was.
No, but I think there's an outside spigot.
On the back side there, I think there might be one.
Do the pots have holes in them?
Mhm.
Should they have holes so the water will
They have-
stay in there longer?
They have holes and they have they have plugs.
Oh.
So Arno or, you know, the volunteer committee sometimes has more knowledge of it than other people too, so they'll know when to pull the plugs, when not to pull the plugs, that sort of thing.
Say almost half the drain, because if it rains 2 to 3 inches, those
You have
pots are
to-
gonna be full.
Yeah.
And they just rot.
You know, yeah, and then, then the roots will rot.
So they're growing, the flowers are ready?
No, we're bringing the pots there Friday.
Oh.
We didn't bring the pots there until we got word that they were happening.
Oh.
And she just called today, so I
There's
called.
still enough time.
They said they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Friday they're going there, 60 of them. 61, we're gonna make an extra one, so, just in case.
All right. Well,
I'm excited.
thank you, Shirley.
Always love, yeah, thank you, Shirley, wherever you are.
Okay, then we'll move on.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Go on to number 8, Police Department Report, Chief Bloom.
Mr. Mayor?
Jason?
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so one of the big things I want to talk about tonight is some of the issues we're having with the squads. Last budget season came in and 2 of our squads were getting up in mileage. The reason behind that was mainly COVID. We ordered one prior, just, at the beginning of 2020, COVID happened. We then went with about a year and a half where we couldn't get a squad. We then, after that year and a half, we got a squad, we replaced our old one and just kept replacing the oldest one as we went forward. We never went back and replaced the one that kept getting older over that year and a half span. So we have 2 squads that, one's a 2016, one's a 2017, that are just above and just below 170,000 miles. Last week or the week before, officer was driving lights and sirens to a call, engine ended up blowing up. The connecting rod disconnected and blew through the engine block. So a major failure to the point where a couple people that were near him pulled over to check on him to make sure he was okay. Didn't cause an accident, he was fine, but quite a scary ordeal for the guy in the car. So, talking about that, that was squad 4. Shortly before that, we had a water pump replaced. There's been a lot of maintenance that has been going on. John can attest that our squads have been in their shop quite a bit lately. They're getting old. They're 170,000 miles, a lot of idle time on top of the mileage. Squad 3 is now having the same issues as Squad 4. Internal water pump went out, has the same tick. It's at Yarman right now. They're going through it to see if they can catch anything that Connor didn't, and they're just saying due to its age, it's getting to the end of life. They could go through and basically redo the motor, but that's several $1,000s, and the comment I got was, you could get another month, you could get another year, you could get another day. They, just because of the age, they don't know what's gonna fail next on it. So,
So what happened to the one where the engine blew up? Is that out of commission?
yes. I went and looked at it today, and the pistons look like baseballs. There's just mangled metal.
There's a new used engine going in there.
Yeah, we were able to find a used engine that has 120,000 miles on it to put a Band-Aid on it and at least get it up so we have another squad. Instead of 2 squads down, we only have 1 squad down. But we're at a point where we've got to catch up at some point.
But you got a new one coming in April.
Yes.
That's when that one's coming, the one that's ordered.
So we ordered one in November, which should be here. They said end of February. Now I'm being told mid-April. So we're just putting more and more miles on them, and that biggest issue was that extra year of COVID where if we would have been able to keep the rotation like we should have and COVID never happened, we wouldn't be here right now. It's just we fell behind and we never went back and refill where we fell behind on, if that makes sense.
Are any of these repairs being warranted? Like if you replace the water pump on the one and that causes a problem again, don't they warranty that?
So what was explained to me is that the internal water pump, when the bearings go out, there can be a backflow of coolant that goes into the oil. By the time you catch the leak, the damage is done. So water pump went in, got replaced, but damage was already done. So it wasn't the new water pump that caused the issue. it was the age of the old water pump that caused the issues, possibly. So, and it's just, it's the age of the vehicle that, when things get old, they start to wear down, and it's kind of, and then luckily nobody got hurt, and it's kind of getting to a safety point where, okay, we're getting a used motor to put in this one to get it up and running again. How long do we run on that? Because these are, it's the age of the vehicles.
But you have 7 squads,
Correct.
and how many are in use at one time?
At one time,
You don't have all 7 in use at the same time.
usually 4 are on a regular patrol per day.
So the same 2 aren't being used twice, the same.
So we want to get away from running squads 24/7 is what we try to get away from, because then you got to replace more. If you shrink the number of squads we have, more wear and tear, then they're running 24 hours a day, where we can put these in the garage for 12 hours a day, give them a break. You run a squad 24 hours a day in, day out, you're going to have more and more issues. And then the squad, the canine squads are a single handler squad vehicle, because those are going to run the entire length of that dog's life. So those squads are running 7 to 9 years, depending on mileage, where the other ones are.
The dog is in it.
What's that?
When the dog is in it.
Yes. So we don't want to put extra, we try to not put extra miles on those, because that's extra equipment, the dog cage and that kind of stuff, where we don't want to swap that in and out to other vehicles. When squads go down, we can limp it through, but like I said, we don't want to add wear and tear on those, so they last the entire length of the dog. So those are getting, those aren't getting switched out every 3 or 4 to 5 years. Those are getting switched out every 8 to 10 years.
What is your plan to replace when you get the new one, which one are you going to replace first?
So my goal right now would be, we've got a used motor to put into the 17. And I would personally take the one that's at Yarman right now completely out of service. I won't drive that anymore.
And wait for the one coming in April.
And use that one, that would be.
And then I would like to order one to replace the one that has the used motor in it as soon as possible, which would take 16 to 18 months to get here.
Okay, question on that. But for Richmond's contract, if we didn't have Richmond's contract, hypothetically, we don't have Richmond's contract, would we then need to buy the squad car? The reason I'm saying that is, we had the discussion about Richmond's contract. Well, in my mind, hearing people talking about it the last couple months, Richmond's contract is anywhere near close to what it needs to be. It needs to be north of $100,000 more in order, because right now the city of Cold Springs taxpayers are subsidizing that contract over there. We aren't even breaking even. And now we got squad cars that were blowing up, and we're not even breaking even on the contract there. They're literally paying 10% of the police budget to have 24/7 coverage. I don't know if anybody else in the council, but I do not think that is fair for our taxpayers to be subsidizing a police force at 90% paid by Cold Spring and 10% by Richmond. That contract seriously needs to be looked at, and it's got to be, in my mind, it's got to be $100,000 north, not below $100,000. In reality, they should be paying, if they paid 25% of the budget, is that too much to ask them to get 24/7 coverage? And the taxpayers of Cold Spring pay 75% of it? I don't think it is. So I think we need to have, sooner than later, and I mean sooner, like maybe next week, starting negotiations with Richmond to see where we're at with that contract. Are we gonna have one with them or not? And then if we aren't gonna have one, do we need to replace another squad car? Maybe we don't need to replace another squad car at this point. We can wait till next year's budget cycle and don't replace, we're replacing one, don't replace this other one until, next year's budget, then we can replace
When
this
is-
2017.
When is that contract up?
December 31st.
So that contract is up, and Bridget and I have been going over an itemized list of looking at the budget line items, seeing what the cost is, breaking it down per officer to actually have a formula to come up with a cost. Because there's stuff that the city of Cold Spring is gonna have to pay and isn't gonna increase or decrease because of what contract, or what Richmond brings. There's revenues that Cold Spring brings in, there's funding that Cold Spring brings in that isn't coming from.
But what fundings are those?
Right.
state aid.
But, and that state aid is based on us having Richmond?
I'm not exactly sure.
No,
how
I
that-
believe state aid is by ours, but I'll have to check that.
Well, that would be an issue, I think.
And, yep, so, and I think there's itemized stuff that, you know, that Richmond brings an extra cost to, and there's items that the PD, the city of Cold Spring is gonna have regardless of if there's a contract or not. And I think there's also benefits to having Richmond. Officer safety, number one, we have 2 officers versus 1 officer on at times. And that's huge right now with the way the society is. So when there's that discussion, there's more than just dollars and cents that go into it. There's a lot of positives that having that additional there. And I agree, I mean, that needs to be fair, but there needs to be a formula on how you get to where you're at, is my opinion.
I'm all for us working with Richmond. I'm not opposed to that whatsoever, but this isn't realistic. I mean, it isn't, I don't think it's even close. I said 100,000 at the last meeting, and I got a lot of criticism from people saying that I'm way too low at $100,000. And I looked at it today and looked at that budget today, and I'm with Doug. I think 25% would be a much more fair figure. 50% wouldn't be fair, but 25% would be fair. And that number comes, if I deduct out some of those other revenues, that'd be about 350,000 is what they should be paying. And I don't think they can support a police department for 350,000. They wouldn't have any of the coverage they have now, and they wouldn't have the city ordinance things. The other question I had is, when you write an ordinance violation in Richmond, and the person that gets the ticket pays the fine, how do they pay that fine? Do they pay it at the city of Richmond, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that number would be come off of what they're giving us already. So we're not getting any of that revenue, they get it all. I don't know how much
The
that
county
is.
gets some of that too.
For city ordinance, but you're probably talking a couple $100.
Couple of $100 in a year for city ordinances?
Yeah, they don't enforce a lot over there. They don't have a lot, but they,
Jason, prior to Richmond's contract, did we not most times have 2 officers on?
Before Richmond, actually until, Richmond started in 2005. So before that would have been Wakefield in 97. We would have had 1 officer on, and probably still had call time.
But one of the things that when you do this factoring of costs, some of it should be your time also. You know, it shouldn't just be an officer's time. It should be administrative time. It should be figure in a portion of the building expense or office housing expense. Those are all parts of the cost of providing that service. And, you know, when we're replacing engines and cars and things that, I mean, I don't think they're even close. And I agree with Doug. I think we need to have a discussion with Richmond before they get into their budget planning period and see where they want to go. And if they don't want to go, and they want to look at something else, I think they should have that opportunity, but.
And I
I
think
still
that would be a
think at
huge loss
350
for the city, for
getting
our department and Cold Spring.
For getting 24 coverage like they're getting now, they couldn't, for 350, they could, what would that buy them? Maybe 3 officers?
They'd go with the county for much less than that.
Yeah, but they wouldn't do their ordinances. Yeah.
I mean, I just think we really need to sit down and have a serious talk. I mean, this year, I just did some numbering today. I mean, the overall budget for the police is $1,653,000. Okay, so if you take all the revenues, 100% of the revenues, which out of there, that leaves a budget of 1.2 million that the city of Cold Spring is paying for. Out of a 1.7 million, we're paying 1.2 million. That's taking the 472,000, which is, of course, is Richmond's payment. I'm talking the 2% insurance and all that. It is not fair, folks, that Cold Spring taxpayers are paying 1.2 million. I get the safety part. We still got to look at the safety part, make sure officers say, don't get me wrong with that. Is that contract helping Richmond, yeah, I'm all for helping your neighbors, but not when it's the not elect me on their dime.
Our
I
city
mean-
taxpayers.
For instance, this year, I mean, our, the increase this year from last year's budget was $56,000. From last year's budget,
Yep.
overall budget to this year's budget. You know what Richmond's contract went up? Let me tell you, 4,800. So our taxpayers took a $52,000 hit in the budget increase. They pay 4,000. One line item this year, gas this year. We all know where the gas is this year. Well, in our budget, we have $23,000 budgeted. In 2 months, we've burned up almost $6,000 in that budget already. Well, we know the gas price is gonna be crazy. Again, Cold Spring taxpayers are gonna flip that bill because that bill is gonna be 40, 50, maybe $60,000. We have budgeted for 23, so that's gonna be another $40,000 hit. So when this next contract, if we have a contract room, it has gotta be where Cold Spring taxpayers don't get burnt, and there's gotta be a clause in there that if something like this happens, they have to have good faith to renegotiate this gas thing, because just that one item, I mean, the gas thing is crazy. It's gonna kill us this year.
Can't the gas be on like a percentage every year somehow?
I mean, you could do a rolling average of the
Yeah.
last 4 or 5 years
Well-
or something, you know, however, just to equal it out. I'm assuming there could be some type of formula figured out.
Gas, you could easily
Yeah.
keep track of until the end of the year, and if you guys say Richmond's paying 25% of the budget, well, if the gas is 100,000, they're paying 25,000 of the gas at the end of the year.
But like when he talks about leaving the squads run for the dogs, gas, that's benefits Richmond also. So that, all the gas should be figured into that, not just for gas for 2 squads.
Yeah, no, this was total gas used for
Right.
January and February was right around $6,000 already out of a $23,000 budget. But we didn't, none of us knew when we budgeted in
No,
September.
don't, exactly.
Gas is
In the
gonna go
last
through the roof.
4 years or whatever the line items are, we've been at or under budget.
Right,
So
right.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying, with the next contract, we gotta have a clause in there that they gotta have good faith to
Well, I think
renegotiate.
we need to have someone appointed to sit on that committee with Jason and I, and we'll have Tessa hopefully get someone on theirs and start that now so that it's all set and ready before Tessa leaves for her maternity leave.
Right, you know, and
So
that's all-
if you could do a motion to, probably just one, maybe 2, I don't know, what do you wanna
I
do?
would start with one and you can bring it back to the council and.
Yeah,
because I mean, that, this all ties into that building also. I mean, if we don't have, if for whatever reason this contract falls apart with them, well, that changes the whole dynamics of our talks with the building and stuff. So, I mean, I think we really need to sit down and see where they're at with, you know, paying their fair share, and for lack of better words.
You want to make a
I'd like a
motion?
motion, I'll make a motion to have Doug sit on.
I would rather have Mike. I'm sitting on about 4 committees already. Mike, would you want to sit on it?
I'd do that.
All right.
I'm on like
Make a
4
motion
committees
for
already.
Mike to sit, with,
Richmond
Chief.
Police.
and Bridget in regards to the Richmond, or Cold Spring and Richmond contract for police.
Shannon makes a motion, how about a second?
I'll second it.
Doug seconds it. Any discussion on that? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carries. What are we gonna do about the car now? Should we,
I make a motion, we buy that.
But can
Is
we
that a budget?
put it on, can we table it for the next meeting? Or, cause I know that,
I know there's gonna be an offset with like our part-time budget. We budgeted 16,000 for that. And at this point in time, I don't foresee us getting a part-timer anytime
but you're not
soon.
going to, right? Yeah.
So I mean, there is gonna be some offset cost.
Then that
in the
might have to
budget
go to
itself.
gas.
That'll definitely go to gas.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer. You know that's gonna happen.
I just based on the discussion is figuring out if, I don't know, if Richmond,
I
this,
mean, I understand what we're all talking about.
Yep.
But we still gotta deal with a.
with an old car,
Yeah.
right,
or 2 old cars,
Yes, so,
which they're getting one.
yeah, and I think
Hopefully
they
they
should get one.
But we got a new one coming in April.
Well,
But if we ordered one, if we'd order another one, that wouldn't come for.
This is not gonna come
16
for,
to 18 weeks is their estimation. It's
So at
built
the end
in.
of the year,
We could table that
Probably.
one, but they need one vehicle.
well, they've got the one.
They got one coming.
Yeah, and I'm for that.
I think they could make do for a while. You know,
Yes.
if it's not a budgeted item, it's pretty hard for me to say we can spend $50,000. I mean, I have some other questions too. Did I understand this right, that it cost another $20,000 to equip the car?
It all depends, because both of these, the cameras in them, need to be cycled out. Each of those cameras are, well, one was budgeted for, the other one, if we would purchase a vehicle, would be $5,000. Some of the equipment will be able to transfer over, depending on new body styles and stuff. It depends on what can transfer over. It could be up to that. I don't think it'll be that high. It was just an approximation to try and get this ready by last week. I don't know exactly what that
So-
itemized list would be.
There's really not just $33,000 for the car.
It's
It's
30,
probably more like 40 or 50,000.
it'd probably run about that 39 to 40. Somewhere in, maybe up to mid-40s, somewhere in that ballpark.
Doug,
Jason, what line items are, if this car is ordered now, the second one, what line items does that come out of? And what is budgeted for them line items?
It come out of capital expenditures, and what's budgeted for that is. Find that. A squad at 35,000 and the equipment for it at 12,600, and then some body camera stuff. So, but that's the total is 55,955, but 47,600 is for the new car that's coming in April.
Right, but now, this second one that Jason's asking for tonight.
Yep.
That comes out of that same line item,
Yep,
right?
then there's
So
not enough
that's gonna-
funds.
That's gonna
that's gonna
slow.
go into the negative, yep, and then
So a
that,
negative.
what we would do at the end of the year is do a budget amendment. And depending on what we have, across the general fund available, could move from, so something that's extra in parks could potentially go there, or, yeah, so it all depends on which department has surpluses and which.
None does, it would come out of the general.
It would come out of the reserves,
surplus.
which is 2.2 right now, yeah.
Second question I have, and I hate asking this question, but what does the gambling fund have in it?
that was just
The
gonna
gambling
ask that.
fund, well, it's down a bit because that's where the fund you, put the escrow amount for the, it has 78 and we put 49 to the county for that escrow account for the trail. But as you and I both know that they don't know is that we could likely save about 150,000 on permit costs at the trail, or, wetland credits, because we might be able to have it identified as man-made and not needing credit purchase. And so that would bring, we could easily see that 49 back at the end of construction. It's covering,
Still is 30.
so there's 30 some in there.
Yeah, prior to that.
Yep.
I just can't see, there's so many variables right now, and it's not a budgeted item. I think there's something in the legislature that's supposed to provide extra funding for police. How that trickles down to Cold Spring, I don't know, but they're advertising that it's gonna trickle down to Cold Spring.
We've all waited for money from the state before.
Yeah. I think we need to buy
Usually
some
doesn't
time
get out of
here.
the cities.
So, just so I'm clear here, so Jason, you have two squads, one's got 30, one's got 47. And then, well, take the canines, so the Impala is the school resource officer one, right?
Yes.
That's what he uses there. And then we'll have a new one coming in April, maybe, so that would be 3 good squads and then one with a new, or
Rebuild engine.
rebuilt
A
engine.
Band-Aid.
A Band-Aid engine in it. So you still would have 3 squads that you could run through a rotation to get us through 4 or 5 months, hopefully less than that, to Richmond's contract, to see where we're at with that.
But then, yeah, you're gonna have squads running 24 hours a day, so you're gonna have more wear and tear.
But it would get us through till fall, which then we could order one and pay for it in next year's budget.
Well, we'd probably,
Yeah.
We need to,
But then
Probably
we'd have
order
to,
two to stay on our rotation.
we're
of
gonna
them.
have to order two at some point to get back.
then we'd
on
have to
rotation.
pull, we'd have to pull the one out that's probably gonna be budgeted for next year already.
Maybe we gotta dump them Fords.
We could go with a Chevy, but then they're $10,000 more a vehicle, or 8 to 10, somewhere in that ballpark, so you're spending more there anyways.
And then equipment transfers be more expensive too.
Cause the Impala's already got 141,000 on it.
We get a lot of pressure about on other things that weren't budgeted. And, you know, I didn't, was a part of setting the budget, but whenever you start taking things that aren't budgeted and start taking it out, then everybody else is hollering, well, how come you took this out? How come you took that out? If they can come back after it's been taken out and get it, then why can't I get mine? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just wanted to put it in front of the council that, yeah, we had one blow up, we've got one getting close, and it's a big officer safety thing, so, I just wanted to make sure you're aware.
I don't disagree that you need a squad. Or another one. Like, I know that we do. I just want the funds to be there and not coming from multiple areas, in a sense. I want, I guess, and I would like to know what Richmond's going to think if there are negotiations. I know we would still need a squad. That doesn't change the fact that we will still need one. I just wish that it was in the budget.
Doug,
I mean, I get the whole safety thing, but I think with two squads that are good, one coming in April, hopefully it's here early part of April, we have three good squads. I think for the time being, we could rotate those three and make sure, I mean, I want our officer safety, so don't think that because I'm saying we get in the squad, I don't believe in their safety. Safety is number one to anybody that works for the city, so, but I think we have three good squads with 50,000, 0 to 50,000 miles on that we could put through a rotation to find out more about Richmond, where we're at with that, and then, like you said, get it in a budget, so it's budgeted items, and look at it then. You know, it'd be one thing if we didn't have new squads, or they were all old, it wouldn't be a question that we needed a squad. But in this situation, I think we can get by for now
I do too.
and not take it out of other reserves or whatever.
So for next year, put in for 2 squads.
I did last year.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, we took one out last year.
And we'll have a better idea when it comes to budget.
Because I think-
We're at with Richard's
Right.
contract and everything.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
problem is that, like I say, that Impala's got 141,000. And that one's gonna come up this year. Plus the one that we're gonna stop them from getting now. So we gotta look at that. There's gonna be 2 of them on that budget. And are you gonna take one of those out again? That's gonna be the decision we gotta make this year.
Yeah.
Because we took it out last year already, we've taken it out before. And we need to keep this rotation. If we don't have this rotation, we're gonna have this every
It's gonna,
year.
or it's gonna happen where we're gonna need like
'Cause-
3,
yes.
because they're all gonna explode.
Yes, we can't do that either.
So I don't agree we'll ever have 3 that will
Well,
explode.
I mean,
The Impala, you know, we
Yeah.
say we gotta replace the Impala, well, it's a school resource car, we don't use it for on the road. I mean, other than drive to schools and stuff, so I mean,
Yeah,
that car's not idling all day long like these other ones who say, yeah, you got engine hours on a lot of these other vehicles.
oh yeah, oh, there's
That
engine
Impala
hours
for the
on that
last how many
Impala
years
too
you
yet,
don't-
because that thing was on patrol for a long time.
It was,
too.
but the last, how many years has it been the school resource officer car now? 2, 3 years, so 3 years that it hasn't been idling all day, you know, like the others always.
But those are things, we gotta look at that this year. I mean, if we're gonna stop, we're gonna say no right now, I get it to an extent. Because if we're gonna look at Richmond's contract first, but we gotta seriously look at it. I mean, 2 cars sitting, not running right now is not a real smart thing either. We gotta have good vehicles for those police to move with.
Mr. Mayor, we do have 5 good cars.
Yeah.
5 good cars.
It's
It's not like we got two
No,
that are out there.
we have-
City of Cold Spring has 5 good cars
Yep.
that could be on the road right now.
What
No
about-
issues.
Then you got that deer car.
Wow, that's not.
Let's not count that.
So we're gonna table this? Or what? How are we gonna do this?
You can do a motion to table.
Well, I think Fran made a
I
motion.
made this motion that,
To buy.
and
Oh,
we
yeah,
get this
there was no
one.
second.
But there's no second yet.
Yeah.
So you can declare it died for lack of second.
So it declares by, with a lack of second. Now, do we just wanna table it till
I guess I would like to table it until there are discussions
with Richmond?
on, with Richmond on budget or something.
I'll second that.
Shannon makes a motion, Mike seconds it. Is there any discussion? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Nay.
Motion carries.
Well,
Roll,
I'm a nay.
roll call.
Francis, no.
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Shannon, and I'm a yes. 4-1, motion carries.
Other than that, I just have the community policing agreement is tomorrow night at 5:30 here in the council chambers. If anybody wants to attend, hopefully it'll be just reviewing a nearly completed document and then have it signed in April.
That's a 5:30 one this time, instead of a 5.
Yep, 5:30.
Almost done with that, huh?
Yep, we're getting there, so it's been good discussion.
Good.
We're gonna have 3 people there again?
I'll notice the potential quorum.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be
I'll
back in
notice it
town
tomorrow
by
morning.
then.
As long as you don't commit the city to anything, you're good.
I have one more thing. Not related.
You go ahead.
Not related to this. I did get the information on the snow fines. I had to back up the
Yeah,
last.
you send it out for me.
Yeah, I got that, and I had a couple of things we talked about earlier was the number of repeat violators, and we talked about upping the fine or making some kind of a, first time it's this, second time it's this, and third time it's towed or something like that, but we'd have to change the ordinance.
Correct.
And I think I read 68 violations in Cold Spring. If I remember
Yeah,
right.
something like that, yep.
Something
I'd have to
like
look at the
60.
email again.
Well, that seems like quite a few. And when you think about the officer time involved in that and the effort, and I guess we get some fine money out of it, $30 times 60, 68, that adds up. But I guess what I'd like to see is more compliance, so that you don't have to be doing all this. So I don't know if you've got a recommendation, or will have a recommendation at some point for changing the ordinance, or,
Looking back at it, I don't remember that there was that many repeat offenders. It's a lot of first-time offenders. Winter parking's been winter parking.
well, it's kind of hard to count how many, it said repeated violator more than, 4 or 5 times. And I don't know if that was the same guy or if it was the same person.
I think it was a repeat from a previous time, not the same time over and over and over again.
So it's the same person most of the time, right?
One person with a second violation.
Okay, but there were about 4 or 5 of them, so it'd be.
So 5 different people with a second violation type of a thing. So repeat violators, I don't think is a very big deal. It's a lot of the first time, the family members, that type of thing.
But we had heard the comment, well, it's $30.
Yep.
I think we need to send a notice out to people. It's time consuming for the plow operator, it's time consuming for the police, and it's a safety thing too, so I don't know if we can get I'd like to see a recommendation to change the ordinance.
If the council wants to do that, they can.
Do you want it graduated or a higher fine? That's graduated and higher.
That's my thought.
I know the graduated worked well for barking dogs, I would start there. Would be my opinion.
Well, I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but
Well, I know, to Jason's point, with the dog thing, we had issues with that. When we went to that tiered, by about the third one, they weren't barking no more because it turned into, I believe the third one was $100.
Yeah, something
You
like
know,
that.
so that seemed to solve it. So I think that tier would probably work pretty decent in the same situation.
Probably.
well, I would ask that you bring
Yep.
something to us that we can act on, but I'm only one person here,
I can bring it to you and then you can decide if you want to act on it.
okay? That works?
Now, I'll bring that probably next time and then we won't have a snowstorm the rest of the year. So it'll be next year. I'll give everyone plenty of notice. that
Let's
things
hope we
have
don't
changed.
have any more this year.
That's right.
Doug.
Jason, the TZD,
Yep,
the funds we get from the state covers wages, correct?
wages, mileage, fuel. There's a formula that calculates work comp, tire, everything that goes into it.
And do they do a lot of that anymore? I mean, it used to be like, it seemed like a lot, but have they
It's-
gone away from that somewhat?
Since COVID and the current climate, it's gone way down. Similar to trying to hire
Yeah,
part-timers.
yeah, you know, you used to hear it almost weekly someplace, and you don't hear it no more. I was just wondering if, has the funds gone away that nobody's doing it, that they're still there? it's
No
just nobody's
volunteers to
doing-
work them.
Nobody doing it.
Nobody's
anymore.
working extra shifts.
And some of the court closing too also put a damper on it
Oh, I
because
suppose, yeah.
I mean, there was a period where they did shut it down during COVID, but there's just, the drive to work extra hours has gone away.
Yeah, 'cause you don't hear it anymore. You used to hear it a lot. They're saturating 23 or, you know, fully 23 or whatever, but you don't hear it anymore.
The funds are there, the officers to work the hours has, that pool has shrunk.
Makes sense. That's all I want.
Okay. Anybody got anything else? Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Then we'll go on to number 9, city administrator report.
The first thing, Mr. Mayor and Council, is the community showcase. Got the application for the booth. We've always done one with EDA. It's April 9th, so I just wanted to know if anyone is interested. I'm gonna take it to EDA on Monday to make sure that they have an interest, and we'll get a booth up there. I did get, so EDA, and I'm gonna, I realized I didn't put this on the EDA agenda for Monday, so you guys will get a revised one tomorrow. The EDA purchased, or worked with a local film company to do a little 3-minute kind of commercial for the city of Cold Spring, and we've got that back. COVID took a little bit time, and they did all 4 seasons, so they had to kind of wait through COVID to go into some places and to get some film, so I'll have that. Thinking we'll run that on a loop, plus CETA did a showcase of the city, so we'll have 2 different videos to showcase. And then hopefully, oops, we watch.
Do you have that on the Facebook page or anything?
Not yet, I was waiting till I get it to EDA and then it
Okay.
will be posted to our,
I just was
to our
curious.
page. I just wanna have the EDA take a look at them. Just wanna let you know, you don't have to stay now, but I will at the time in April send out a request to see who can man the booths from, usually we do 7:30 to 10:30 and then 10:30 to 1:30. So one helps set up, one group helps take down. So.
I would do 10:30.
You don't wanna set up?
I don't wanna get up at that time of day. I don't get
Okay.
up till 8 o'clock.
All right, so I'll get that out to you all.
I'll be there all morning anyway,
Okay.
so.
The River Park Foundation, they are working with the chamber. Last year's Rock the River did really well. They have some plans for next year. Last year, if you recall, we had a 1-year agreement with them to let them use the park for up to 5 times without having to pay the fee. It's related to their loan agreement that they have to pay back to the city for their cash shortage. They had pledges for all of the cost of putting the park together, but some of those pledges are yearly pledges, so we have that loan agreement with them. I was talking with Tim Kramer, and I thought last year's the agreement worked well. We got some bugs worked out, and so this new one is for the full length of the term of the loan. So the loan is done in December of '23, so this would give them this year and next year. And so I just want to have it, we won't have to come back every year. They do have their 4 dates, and so they want to get those on the calendar in pen. They're in pencil right now, but without the agreement, they can't get them locked in.
Okay, recommendation. To approve entering into an agreement with River Park Foundation for the use of Alexander Park. I need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion.
Shannon makes a motion, Doug seconds it. Any discussion on that? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carries.
And it's really not an agenda item, but I did send you that memo from the county. People will be getting their projected house assessment for '22, which will then be used for their taxes of '23. And I checked with some other communities, everybody's up in that 15 to 20% for residential and the same commercial. And so you'll be getting a letter from them, and if people ask, the county is looking at sales, and sales have gone sky high in the last year, and that's what they base it on.
Yeah. That it?
That is it.
Anybody got anything for Bridget?
I don't.
Otherwise, we'll go on to number 10, list of bills and additions. Recommendation to review and accept payment of the accounts payable according to the list and supplemental list presented by city staff. I need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion.
Fran makes a motion, Doug seconds it. Any discussion on it? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Number 11, general questions and comments from city council.
I
Fran.
have none.
Doug,
Nothing.
Mike,
I just wanted to say one thing. I don't know if it requires any city action, but I for one, as a citizen, am really supportive of Ukraine and what's going on there. I think it's kind of a serious thing. I hope people are paying attention to that. And I guess I just want to personally say my heart goes out to those people and what's going on over there, and we hope for the best outcome.
all right.
And you know what you can do? You can donate on Airbnb, and they
that,
have, yeah, so that they will actually, it's like setting Ukrainians up in a hotel and have
Yeah.
homes. So it's pretty
And
cool.
I tried to order a flag today, and they're back ordered until May.
Yeah, so.
And China's making them? Is that what?
Yeah.
I did have a question in regards to the ad hoc committee. Did they make any nominations? I didn't, I tried to.
I just got an email, I got an email from them today that they did get 8 people.
Okay.
They want to honor that diversity of opinion, so they
Yeah.
wanted to meet with me to kind of get me the list and go through to make sure that there is a proper representation of the
Yeah.
full community from those who signed up, so
Okay.
I'll know that more on Thursday.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good. Thank you.
And
Do they have a next date set for
Yeah.
meeting time?
Not yet.
No, they're, yeah.
I have nothing. Number 12, motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Shannon makes the motion, Mike seconds it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carries. Thank you very much.